actually recording, and translation is available in Vietnamese today. If you are joining from Vietnam and would like translation, then there is an interpretation button at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that and click Vietnamese translation, you should hear our very able translator working very hard in the background. So that is for anybody joining us from Vietnam. There is a chat function as well at the bottom. Hopefully some of you are familiar with this if you've been on a webinar like this before. We'd really love to know where you are coming from today in terms of locality, what organisation, if you're an individual. Just say hello in the chat function now, and hopefully, yeah, that will give us an idea of who you are, where you're from, and what your interest is. And question and answers. There's a separate Q&A function. So it is quite important for us that if you have a question, which is what this webinar is all about, is to give you an opportunity to ask questions, is to put them in the Q&A section rather than the chat function. So then we can really, we've got people in the background that can answer directly, but also they're filtering through the questions and answers through to us as a panel. And because this is being recorded, this session will be on our website in the next few days. We'll have it up there. So for people who haven't managed to join live, they can still join and watch this at another time at their own leisure. So I think that's it in terms of the sort of basic sort of housekeeping points. If you have any questions for the hosts, do just pop that into just any general questions about the webinar today, just pop that into the Q&A function as well if you have any issues. So I wanted to introduce my team. You can see three lovely people surrounding me here. So first of all, we have, I'm going to hand over to Dinesh to say a quick hello and tell us where you're from today.
Hey, Michelle, thank you so much. And thank you participants for joining the webinar. I'm Dinesh and I'm working as a project manager for WasteAid Circular Economy Network in Guwahati. I'm basically from Delhi, but for this program, I moved to Guwahati. I'm looking forward for queries on the webinar and the challenge.
Perfect. Great, thank you. Over to you, Tran. Do you want to say a quick hello?
Yes, Michelle. Hello, everyone. My name is Tam Nguyen and the project manager of this Circular Economy Network, joining you from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam.
Great, thanks, Tran. And yeah, over to Angela. Oh, I think you're on mute, Angela.
Right, welcome to the webinar, Every Single South African. Hello to India, UK, and of course, Vietnam. I'm based in Johannesburg and have been very excited to kind of spread the word and connect partners on the ground when it comes to the value of the circular economy and the network. So I'm really excited that you've joined today, and I hope you got your questions ready to be answered so that you can move full steam ahead.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Angela. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how this session is going to work. We've got an hour together. For this first half an hour, I just wanted to go through some of the basics of the competition, of the challenge. All this information is available on the website, but I thought it was good just to bring out some of the key points. And then the team, the project managers, are going to give you a bit of a flavour for some of the types of circular economy ideas that have been really inspiring us in the countries in which we're operating, which might actually spark some ideas for yourselves. You may be thinking, is my idea a circular economy? What is a circular economy? So by the end of the session, we hope that you all go away with an idea of what we mean by circularity as well. And then we'll have about half an hour that we're going to leave open for questions and answers from yourselves. If we don't have enough questions to fill the time, then obviously we won't keep you on for longer than we need to. But yeah, we really wanted to give some good time just for you guys to ask any questions that you may have. So let me just go into a bit about the competition, who we are as WasteAid, just to give a bit of background. So WasteAid, first of all, is a UK-based international organisation, and we are operating currently in sub-Saharan Africa and also in Asia. And our vision, our remit, is to see waste services provided for all. So that is that's our vision. And the Circular Economy Network was created in 2020 by WasteAid with the view to bring together organisations, individuals, entrepreneurs, donors, foundations, institutes, all those organizations that are trying to drive the circular economy forward in their own countries. And starting in South Africa, India and Vietnam, but with the aim of this network to go wider. So although this particular competition and this project will go till June of next year, our idea is to spread this to other countries and also to do more in the countries currently where we're operating. So this WasteAid Zero Waste Cities Challenge is part of the Circular Economy Network project that we are currently running. And we really see that there is value in breaking the silos down between those organizations, foundations, institutes, that by working together and understanding better best practice, that actually we can forward the circular economy more quickly. So really to fast track local solutions. So you may already have been part of some of the webinars that have been running in each of the countries. Maybe you've been participating in an event. And today, obviously, we're talking about the WasteAid Zero Waste Cities Challenge. So and also just important to say, the current phase is funded by Huhtamaki, who are a key global provider of sustainable packaging solutions. And they have hubs in each of the countries in which we are working at the moment. So they're a key partner for us. So the WasteAid Zero Waste Cities Challenge is a circular economy challenge set up by the Circular Economy Network. And the 3 Cities Challenge is looking for innovative ways to address particularly the impact of waste in our communities. Now, we recognise that the circular economy is more than waste, it's more than recycling, absolutely. It starts fundamentally at that design stage. But for WasteAid, in the countries in which we work, we really believe that waste is such an issue that we put a particular focus on the solutions that the circular economy can bring to waste. So we know that the circular economy is bigger, but as WasteAid, we are focusing particularly on the waste crisis that we see in many of the countries in which we're operating, with landfills that are running out of space, with low levels of segregation happening at household level, with very low levels of recovery of waste. We see there is a problem, but there is a massive opportunity as well. And we think the circular economy provides a solution, both in terms of jobs, livelihoods, health outcomes, environment, something that works for everybody if we apply the circular economy in its pure sense. So we all know that only a fraction of waste is recovered in the cities in which we're working, in Joburg, Ho Chi Minh and in Guwahati. And that's why we have launched this competition in those 3 locations, recognising the fact that already we know by our presence in these countries, there are many of you already working on this as a critical issue. We've met lots of small enterprises, entrepreneurs, innovators who are working from the grassroots up to try to bring about change. So what WasteAid wants to do is come in and support you with seed funding through this competition to fast track your idea. So this competition is all about trying to find 2 innovators in each of the hubs that can take an idea that they have and really make that work in their localities. It might be to scale up, it might be to do it for the first time. We don't know. We're open-minded in that respect, but really it's about bringing that circular economy principle into waste, where we can really reduce the amount of waste going to landfill, bring those materials back into production systems, into recycling, create value from those waste streams as well. I'm probably talking to the converted because I'm sure many of you are already doing this already. So, but that's a bit of background as to why we're doing it, where we're doing it, and who is actually funding it. So to find out more, I would encourage you all to get onto the Circular Economy Network website, which I think my colleague will be popping into the chat function now. I'm sure most of you have already visited the site. If you go onto the site, you can watch introductory videos on the competition, as well as individual videos from each of the countries. I do encourage you to look at those. Read all the forums, read through everything on there, And what I wanted to do now is just bring out some of the key points on there where you may be thinking, well, what is the criteria? What are we looking for? So the first thing, and I've touched on this already, the ideas must contribute to one of the key pillars of the circular economy. What are the three key pillars? The first pillar is designing out waste from the production system. So that's before we've even got a product out of the factory, solutions that design out waste and pollution at that very initial stage. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar, and I would say probably where WasteAid focuses most of its efforts, is in how do we keep materials in use? And that is in terms of the recovery of materials before they go to landfill. That could be organic materials as well as plastic, paper, all waste streams are in there. I think key for us is how do we retain the value of that material? So rather than downcycling, where the material that we're using is worth less than it was originally, ideas that really retain that value are things that we are really looking for, and to keep the highest value of that material, to keep that material in the loop for as long as possible. So that's the second pillar. The third pillar is all about organics. So our food waste, which we know is a massive proportion of the waste streams, both in all the countries in which we're operating, that something up from 40% upwards is actually organic material. So in this respect, we're really interested in organisations that are looking at ways to make sure that that organic material is returned to nature and actually used to benefit soils. Soil fertility could be into biofuels, could be into fertilizers of our animal feed. So what ways can we take our organic waste and retain the value of that? And again, we know there's many organizations doing that already. So there are three key pillars that you need to think about. Where does my idea fit? The second aspect, which is really linked back to the project duration, that this current phase ends in June of next year. So we need an idea that is implementable within 6 months of the funding that is received. So we envisage that the funding will be given around October. So we would like the actual implementation of that idea to happen before the end of June of 2022. So we're saying within about 6 months, but it gives you a rough idea. So you may be just at the beginning stages, perhaps, in your idea. And so you need to think about, can you actually get it up and running fast enough for this to work within the duration? The fourth thing is around the proof of concept. So already we've had some interest, from people to say, I have an idea to do X, which is great. But what we're interested to know is, has this been tried anywhere else? Is there any proof of concept to show us that this might have some risks, but those risks are mitigated by the fact that we know that there's evidence that it has worked, perhaps in a small scale, somewhere else? So what is your proof of concept? How do we know? What's our confidence to know that this is implementable? The next area, which I think is very much where WasteAid is focused, again, is around some of the most disadvantaged and minority sort of groups, communities that perhaps are, I suppose, impacted a lot by the fact that there aren't waste collection schemes in place. That this must demonstrate that it actually does help the poorest communities, whether that be in terms of making their environment cleaner, which then leads to better health outcomes for those communities. Or it could be that there's job creation within your idea. It could be something that helps informal workers be better integrated or get a better value from what they are doing in terms of the collection of the waste. So think about, how does this have a social impact? What is the social impact of your idea, and how can you articulate that within your application? You may be asking yourself a question, well, I'd love to implement an idea in Guwahati in Assam, but I'm not based there. I'm in New Delhi. Can I apply? Absolutely. So if you're from outside the region, that's fine. You do apply, but the idea must be implemented in the hub. So either in Johannesburg, Ho Chi Minh, or Guwahati. And we do want to encourage the national organizations. So we would want, you know, a Vietnamese organization applying for the Vietnamese, for the Ho Chi Minh, and for Indian organizations to be applying for the Guwahati, and likewise in South Africa. So, but you do not have to be from the locality in order to implement your idea there. Size of company, you may say, look, my bank balance looks like Bill Gates, can I apply? Absolutely apply, but bear in mind, we are really trying to focus this opportunity on companies that perhaps have not had that opportunity to access funds like this. So it really depends on the number of applications that we get, but you know, do apply if you've got a great idea. Perhaps you've had some funding in the past like this, you know, do apply, and then, you know, I would say throw your hat into the ring, but do bear in mind we are trying to focus on those companies that perhaps have not had that opportunity and perhaps are, you know, really in that early stage innovators, entrepreneurial sort of startup phase. So I tried to bring out some of the main points, I think, that questions that you might have. How to enter practically. So the first thing is join the Circular Economy Network, become a member. So that's the first thing. That's the main way that we're sending out information to our members, is through the Circular Economy Network. We have monthly newsletters. There's all sorts of content that we'll be sharing with you guys over time. So we really encourage you to be a member, become a member today, and that will then enable you to access the application form and all the other elements related to the competition. Complete the application form. We do advise, do it offline, first of all, do it perhaps in a Word document and cut and paste into the online form, because it can get a bit fiddly if you're trying to do word count. So just practically do it offline first and cut and paste it in. And take time to answer all the questions. And there is also an opportunity to provide supplementary information. You can upload photographs, documents. There's a bit of a file limit to it, but I think we've made it as such that you should be able to, you know, upload a few pieces of supporting information if you need to. And beyond this webinar, if you do have questions, please email us on inquiries@circulareconomynetwork.co. And I think that may come up at some point as well in the chat function, but it's on the bottom. If you click the email on the bottom of our website, it automatically puts the address into your email. So you don't even need to know the address really. Timeline. Let me just share a timeline with you if I can get this to work. So just so you are aware, just bear this. Okay, so key dates. So we launched the competition on the 19th of April, and I'm sure you're all here because of that. So you know that one already. The deadline for entries, we're giving people 2 months. It's the 19th of June. We're not being specific on the time, I would say, but like midnight. So you've got the whole day of the 19th, which we know is a Saturday, but we thought we'd keep it as easy as possible. Deadline for entries will be, then we'll be shortlisting. There'll be an internal period of shortlisting within WasteAid from the 21st of June to the 16th of July. So we'll have a bit of time internally to judge, and we'll be working together as a team, bringing in other panelists to sift and shortlist the applications as and when they come through. And then we will be looking to announce what we call the semi-finalists on the 19th of July. And this is something I think is really exciting, that, you know, there are 2 prizes at the end to win 10,000 euros, which is fantastic. But there's also an opportunity for more of you to benefit from some exciting tailored business support. So what we'll do on the 19th of July is announce up to 12 semi-finalists in each of the locations, depending on the number of applications, that would then receive for 8 weeks tailored business support and pitch preparation. So the idea of this 8-week period is for you to be supported by companies that can give you coaching, mentoring, support you on your business plan development ideas, look at your finances, look at your marketing strategy, to really give you some advice and support. So even if you're not successful, you will walk away from this initiative with a really solid business plan that will hopefully enable you to get funding from elsewhere should you not be successful. The great thing about these business support services, they themselves also have contacts with venture capitalists and funding mechanisms. So we would love to see beyond this competition how we can also continue to support those semi-finalists to access perhaps even more funds. So we think that's a really exciting opportunity for, for more than just the winners at the end. We'll then do a kind of an online pitch of those 12 to get it down to 5. And then we'll have a final pitch in front of industry experts, panelists drawn locally from each of the locations. And it will all be done virtually, obviously, because of the COVID restrictions. But yeah, so that is the timeline in broadly. We're hoping that won't change, and we've given ourselves a bit of flex within that. But hopefully that gives you some of the details of what you need to know. I'm now going to hand over to the program managers who are going to give you a bit of an overview of some of the great things going on in their own country that hopefully will give you some food for thought. So over to you, Dinesh.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm very much privileged to be working in this circular economy network, because when I look at Indian implementation of circular economy network, the missing link that needs to be filled is actually being done by WasteAid through this project. So once I moved to Guwahati, we spent a comfortable amount of time to identify the circular economy initiatives that are working in Guwahati and around the country. So I'll just try to brief few of the initiatives. It doesn't mean that only these kind of initiatives are eligible for this competition, but these are few examples which can be. So just to simplify what Michelle said about circular economy network, my examples are based on slowing the loop, that is keeping the resources in the loop for a larger amount of time, and closing the loop. So which includes a lot of initiatives like reduction, recovery, extended producer responsibility, recycling, upcycling, and products, using the products as services, not as products. It's like not consumption, but using a product. So this is one example I'm very much fascinated about. So if you know about the pellets, so these are the outer casings of the machinery. If you buy a large printer, the outer casing generally comes in pellets. So there is this organization in India which converts this pellets, which is kind of a cheap wood resources. So if furniture is not made out of this wood, this actually ends up maybe as a fuel in low income households. So this is one example that I'd like to put forward. So for example, if there is someone in Guwahati or India who's doing this kind of initiatives, they are happy to join this competition. And when we talk about reduction, so this is one initiative I'm very much interested. I wish it is in Guwahati, because I try to live a zero waste life or zero plastic life, but there are a lot of limitations in cities like Guwahati, or maybe because of its geographical conditions, or maybe its connectivity to the metro cities. So this is one initiative that is running in Mumbai, although it's a metro city. The accessibility is high, but we cannot say that the accessibility is less in Guwahati. So this initiative cannot be done in Guwahati. So it's like an initiative where initially bottles are provided to each of the households who are subscribers, and all the detergents are actually refilled at your doorstep. So there is this one interesting study which says that if refilling is actually used in the place of packaging, 30% of the cost of these products will reduce. And this is one other initiative I'd like to talk about. We know all about upcycling, although we are not against upcycling or keeping the resources more into the loop, but we are more into like if you talk more about circular economy network, it's about bottle to bottle or bumper to bumper. These are the two initiatives that are happening in a city in the southern part of the country, in Hyderabad, where recycling of car bumpers is a very difficult process. So most of the time, what happens with the bumpers is it actually ends up in a landfill or burned or recycled into a low-grade plastic. There is this one interesting initiative which received a lot of circular economy awards in 2018, 19, continuously, where a car bumper is actually made into a car bumper and used for new cars. And bottle to bottle, although there are a lot of bottlenecks in the policy as well, but not for food consumption applications, but bottles like shampoo bottles, which are made of HDP, high density polyethylene, are actually recycled and used for the same purpose, which is actual circular economy concept. So this is one very interesting concept where it actually impacts or increases the income of the informal sector. This initiative, we are not taking names of these initiatives purposefully, but this initiative is working in Mumbai, where this particular company has actually tied up with NGO or a not-for-profit, which is completely an informal sector not-for-profit. They procure the high-density polyethylene from the informal sector, and they don't recycle it, because the more you refine or the more you secondary segregate the resources, the price of the resources increases, and this price actually can be transferred to the informal sector. So this is the actual one initiative that is happening, where high density polyethylene is converted into 3D printer films. And this is a very simple process. It doesn't require a lot of technology to it. So the increase in the income of this company is actually transferred to the informal sector. This is one initiative I'd like to highlight. And the other, if you talk about packaging, over 40% or 47% to be exact, 47% of all the single-use plastic is actually made for packaging. So this is a UN report which says about this. So 47% of what our plastic is produced is actually made for packaging, and after single use, it ends up either in the dump site or in the oceans, reaches the oceans. Just to cut that, if you can have alternatives to plastic. So it can be food packaging, it can be for product wrapping as well. And this is one initiative I guess a lot of people would be knowing, the material recovery facility. There are a lot of modalities of working. It can be operated completely by an informal sector or by a self-help group. So this is one example where the whole city's material, the dry waste is collected separately and sent to a material recovery facility, and the resources are collected back. And Tetra Pak initiatives, so where the Tetra Paks are considered to be non-recyclable, so boards are made out of Tetra Pak. This is one initiative I'd like to highlight. Let's say there is an initiative in the city which collects Tetra Paks or any sort of dry waste separately. This kind of initiatives are welcome. So these are not only initiatives which we are limiting to. So it can be, as I showed in the first slide, it can be organic and also technical cycles, which we are talking about when we are talking about recycle. It can be biodegradable cycles like home composting or community composting. Some business models out of home composting that are also invited. So if you have any doubt, I'd like to take questions about Guwahati or in India in particular about Circular Economy Network. That's it from my side, and over to Tram.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Well, I hope you have heard a lot of examples from India, and I also enjoy listening to, so I'm happy that I presented after him. So it's my turn to show you some examples from Vietnam. Allow me to share the screen. Just bear with me a second, please. Sorry. I do it again.
Don't worry, Tram. This is all live. Live broadcasting is all about. Take your time.
Here we go. Okay. Yes, so if you listen to Michelle's, as she mentioned about 3 principles of circular economy, then I will be sticking on these 3 principles to help you to recognize some progress have been going on the route in Vietnam. So first of all, if we say about design out the waste and pollution, which basically means like we prioritize the regenerative resources. So say some biological materials, for example. Then I found some examples making the packaging from some bio-based or even from the shrimp shells. Then I also found some companies producing the tableware or cutlery for takeaway from cornstarch, and especially from sugarcane bagasse. Then if you come to the second principle, keeping the products and materials in use, this is where most of the applications lies in, because we already have a lot of products and we need to lengthen the lifetime, like or stretching the lifetime of any single product in order to maintain by any means, say we can maintain them. Or I have found some platform to have people to swap the clothes, repair shops. In Vietnam, you can easily see those examples of those main sitting on the street pavement, repairing the shoes. And then we can also talk about reverse logistics, which includes like the refill system, the take back program, and refurbishment. So anything that you can try to lengthen the lifetime of a subject. And then finally, regenerate a natural system, which means we use waste as a resource. This is a typical example that has been known for a long time in Vietnam, like before we know about circular economy, which is the VAC model, which like somehow shows the intercorrelation between the garden, the fish pond, and the cattle cage. So saying they are trying, the farmers trying to close the loops between the output of this process to be the input of the other process. Then we also talk about vermicomposting as a way to treat the organic waste that accounts for more than 60% of the waste composition in Ho Chi Minh City. And then we also talk about the recycling of low value plastic waste. So, I mean, I think all in all, it's about scaling the type of production, and then your consideration about the scaling the type of production across the whole value chain. So if you need more explanation as well as the answer, or if you want to put any comments on the competition, as well as the circular economy network in general, you can of course access the landing page of the challenge, or we have the very unique Facebook page for Vietnamese, which is the CEN Vietnam, where we can all share our interests. So we look forward to seeing your applications in order to together create an impact. So thank you. And then I will hand over to Angela for the presentation from South Africa.
Thank you, Tram. Thank you, Dinesh. And firstly, to all South Africans, I'd like to officially greet you properly. Mulweni, Sanibonani, Dumelang, Abusheni, and thank you for joining us, because I think as a South African, the most important thing that we have in our spirit is responding innovatively to our disruptive environments. And any running business right now, particularly at an organizational level, all the way through to SMEs and people in startups, understand that it's through our response, and particularly to our problems in our country, where amazing innovation lies, and that from there we can really step into a greater idea of what we can supply in business thought. So Johannesburg, like many other cities, firstly, Johannesburg in South Africa is a commercial capital that actually drives almost 90% of our gross domestic profit across the board. So if you think of the migrancy to a city and the overconsumption and the the use of consumerism, eventually that's really going to exceed all the waste streams. So when I've looked at circular economy in the South African context, I think what is exciting is through our response at a very ground level and grassroots level, many businesses are circular-ish, and not understanding that if they keep going, they can really fulfill and rise to the challenge of the problem in waste management. And more than that, looking at the future of responding and creating systems that are inclusive. I like to say inclusivity because the biggest response that's come out of a South African context are our waste pickers, are our essential workers, for example, that have kind of seen value in resources and have stepped into the value chain and made a huge difference, not only on the footprint of waste, but in ideally how we can eminently deal with the situation right now. In South Africa, food insecurity is huge. Our first Circular Economy Network event really brought together heads and partners and members of the South African Circular Economy Network to understand that the further traction in circularity is, yes, indeed, keeping food. It's about 30 to 40%, as Michelle had indicated, of natural organic food waste going to landfill. If we start off by keeping that, the rest of the circular economy across the value chain will benefit. Because if we look at the waste pickers and their eventuality of being included in the system, we can truly all rise to a responsible, I think, management system if we play our part. So I'd like to ask you as a South African to think beyond the idea of what you think we need, to respond to our waste management crisis through the idea of making sure that the three principles are used, whether it be natural waste and regenerating that, to apply strategy in your design. When you start a business, keep products in the loop. We've got recyclers, we've got upcyclers, all working in isolation. But if we can fulfill these nodes, as passionate South Africans, and bring innovation to our environments, I believe that the greater benefit will be that to some degree we can eliminate poverty and rise above the immediate challenges that are so critical, not only to our environment, to our health system. So pay attention, ask questions, and I'm going to hand back to the Circular Economy Network. Of course, Michelle Wilson, the network director. Thank you, Michelle.
Great, thanks very much, Angela. And thanks for all the fantastic examples that you guys have spoken about. I'm very pleased to say that we've got a flurry of questions coming through now, which is great. So I'm going to kind of, I'm seeing some have been answered, but some are open. So we're going to do our best to answer some of these open questions. I think we've got a really good question here. And I think I'm going to maybe say a bit myself, but also maybe Dinesh, you can say a bit about this. What about digital solutions for circular economy, or focus on solutions that aren't being shown as examples? So do digital solutions count? I would say absolutely 100%. We're already, I think, in some of our webinars, the next webinar that's coming up for India on the 13th is looking at data. How can we use data to really drive circularity in waste? And obviously with data, we need some digital solutions. In South Africa, we've been talking to a number of organizations with app-based technology that link sellers, buyers, and providers, producers of plastics. So we absolutely see digital solutions as really, really interesting. We'd love to see some of those ideas coming through. So yeah, Dinesh, I don't know if you wanted to add anything on that in terms of digital.
Yes, Michelle, I guess it's very it's very fortunate that we got this question, because in view of the webinar. So I feel that one missing link, as I told you in the beginning, is the data. So unless we don't have a specific problem, a clear problem, we cannot arrive at a solution. So data actually helps in defining that problem. Or for example, if you're talking about a city, how much does the city generate? How much does the plastic, what is the plastic waste generation? How much does it reach to a recycling facility? How much to the dump site? So if we have that data, which a digital platform can actually capture perfectly with exact numbers, then the solution or the planning for the solutions becomes very easy. So digital solutions are perfect, yes, for the competition.
Great, thank you. Another question here is about impact and measurement. So hoping that these initiatives have some matrix on total savings, waste recovered against 3 pillars. Absolutely, and that is over to you as applicants to tell us, how are you going to measure the impact of your idea? So that is part of the application form, is around, how do we know whether it's been successful or not? And we would, obviously, in a short period of time, you might not see really big impact measures, but we want to have some idea of how would you measure the impact of that activity or that technology over time. So, but that would be for you guys to define for yourself, I would say, for applicants. Another question, maybe for Tram, this one. So Tram, there's a question here around, are villages in priority or urban centres? From your perspective in Ho Chi Minh, what would you be looking for?
Well, I would be looking for any solution that create impact, Michelle. Say the urban sector in Ho Chi Minh City, on the F&B services and a lot of workers. So it's up to you also, depending on what you already maybe, and then how to compare with the things that we have presented. We actually are open with any solution as long as you prove that it shows enough impact.
Exactly. Angela, anything for Johannesburg in terms of your area?
I think I'd like to ask those in Johannesburg to, if they're submitting ideas, and we all have ideas and we get excited about the money, to feed into their community and see if there are organizations, and there always are people in the lead that can mentor them through extrapolating the business idea before they get into proposing as well. I think when it comes to rural and urban, we have, I think they both impact and are interconnected. So urban waste is what we need to focus on, but Johannesburg's spread moves into agriculture on all nodes. And because everyone's working in isolation, I think ideally we do need to tie these nodes together. So that kind of innovation to converge resources will enable and be profitable for everyone. So think big, but think localized.
Yeah, no, it's a really good point. I think that we know that often urban centres do get a lot of attention, perhaps in terms of waste, because the problem is so big, so large, in the centres in which we're working. But there's no reason why we shouldn't be looking at ways of linking perhaps some of the more rural locations to the cities in terms of waste solutions as well, and vice versa. And I love the idea and the discussions that Tram brought out in terms of somebody's output being somebody else's input, that waste from the city centres could actually be used in some of the rural settings, perhaps. So, it is looking at how can these be linked up. So at the moment, I would say certainly the hubs, we are looking at Guwahati, Ho Chi Minh and Johannesburg, but there are peri-urban areas of those cities, and there are also villages that could also indirectly benefit perhaps from whatever we're doing in the city. So hopefully that answers your question. We also have some questions here. Let me just scroll through here. A simple one, what's the max size of team allowed? There is no minimum or maximum. So please just state your team, and yeah, there's no minimum or maximum team allowed. All I would say is think about the funding. I think this is another thing with the 10,000 euros, and we have said this in the, I think in the guidelines, that we know for many organisations, access to capital for machinery, property and the like is difficult at times. So, but we've also got to be cognizant of, if you're buying machinery with this money, then it would be understanding what's the maintenance, how are you going to actually really look after that over the life cycle of that piece of machinery? What happens if it breaks down? So we would need to see that you've really thought about the investment that is required, not just to buy that, but the ongoing maintenance and repair of that piece of machinery. On property, we're saying that the money will not be able to be used for buying land or buying property, but it can be used perhaps to go towards the rental of space, if that helps the idea to get off the ground. But just think about the proportion of the revenue or the 10,000 euros that you would actually put towards the sort of the capital spend. as an overall proportion of the €10,000. So we are open, we are flexible, but we've tried to give a few guidelines, let's say online. Right, a few more here. Maximum size, matrix, digital. There's a few requests here how to connect personally. So I think the best thing to do at this stage is if you sign up to become a member, then each of the program managers, so Dinesh, Tram and Angela, have a whole list of everybody that is registered in their locality, and they can reach out to you directly. So I'd say the best thing to do is sign up to become a member. Dinesh, Tram and Angela will have a whole list of the members in their area that they can work with and contact and communicate with. And that's how you can link with your program managers directly. Who will give data of specific area if we desire to adopt or we have to rely on government data? We know data is a challenge, an issue. Having accurate data is an issue. So we would say use the most reliable data that you have available, and to make sure that you quote its source would be helpful for us. But we know that in many of the areas where we're working, data is a challenge. So, but yeah, we certainly have been using in our contextual analysis a mixture of government data, peer-reviewed articles with official data, and also research institutes have been a good source as well. Okay, we have a very good question here, maybe one for Dinesh. What kind of behaviour change initiatives do you run to provide nudge to people or related to social norms for waste disposal? So behaviour change, or actually maybe anybody has experience of behaviour change programmes? I can say a bit, but I thought it'd be good just to give somebody else a chance. Dinesh, do you want to come in?
Yes, Michelle. So I guess behavioral change is a very tricky area and also very important area, because I see the funding for the behavioral change BCC activities or the information education and communication IEC activities declining very steadily in the area of sanitation and waste management, although it's a very big area to be covered. So if you ask me like what kind of behavioral change initiatives do you run, is like maybe something very direct, like there is this one initiative which I've seen in Guwahati, which has a impact of around 450 households who's working in collecting dry waste. So if I look at their BCC activities, so it's like direct one-to-one communication and like providing information when they need it. So if you break out IEC, information, education and communication, one thing which I've observed very interesting is that they don't preach about segregation. They actually teach about the segregation. It's like you tell them to segregate the waste and then teach them, going to their household while you're collecting and then teaching, oh, you kept the dry waste thing, which actually should go to a red bin, household hazardous waste. So teaching them that's the core. Yeah, I guess that. Michelle?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and it's a really good point. And I certainly think it's a very underinvested area, that a lot of the issues that emanate from lack of segregation of waste can really only can't addressed solely by providing equipment, without that behaviour change element to it. So I think ideas that the funding going towards an aspect of behaviour change would be really interesting actually to see. I mean, certainly I've been involved with designing behaviour change approaches which on a pilot level, which have then been taken to scale. And I think for us, what we're hoping through these ideas and working with entrepreneurs and innovators like yourselves, that there are ideas that the government would want to take to scale, would want to take and implement elsewhere. So, it could be an idea that is just working with a small number of households, but actually provides really robust evidence of an approach that the government could take up and spread elsewhere. So, and I think behaviour change fits quite nicely into that. So any ideas around that would be really interesting. We have an interesting question here. I don't know whether I'll see when my panelists know about this. Has anybody explored the potential of have experience with farming farming black soldier fly larvae for managing organic waste? Anybody have anything on the black soldier fly? Dinesh, you want to come in?
Yes, Michelle. So I experienced them when I started my home composting back in Delhi. So the first thing is like I was like I thought that they are external to my composting unit, but the importance of soldier flies is like they are the core to the composting. So, but I've not seen any business ideas which try to capture the flies just in the case of like not like the honeybee kind of a culture. I've not seen such business ideas, but it's a very good thing, Michelle. Like if I can get ready soldier flies for my compost, I would be very much happy.
Tram, Angela, any experience, Angela, in black soldier fly?
Well, absolutely. Just this past Monday, on site in Diepsloot with one of our members, they were not only, I saw our beautiful earthworms, and I've adapted to that. They're doing their work with vermicompost, but then she had a bucket, and that's the next step of black soldier flies. And checking out the larvae and kind of re-experiencing my youth in learning a bit more about biology. And I think working within a community is quite exciting because it's a natural process, and the agricultural, almost agroecology of it all is bringing in all elements of nature. So considering pig farming, chickens, alongside the vegetables, because they all feed and exist within the regenerative system. So absolutely, very productive black soldier larva flies.
Great, thanks, Angela. And I think, yeah, with a lot of these things, what we're seeing is many entrepreneurs, innovators kind of having a go at some of these technologies. And what we're hoping is that this type of funding would help just to bring some kind of proof of concept on some of these ideas. And I know we have been contacted by a number of sort of entrepreneurs, innovators who are experimenting in black soldier fly larvae. So yeah, I think it would be a great idea if anybody's got an idea out there is trying, you know, to do this, then we think, you know, really valid. And I think, yeah, there's lots of small ideas and, you know, companies out there trying different things. So anything is eligible. Let me just see if there's anything else here. Thanks a lot for your suggestions on some of the innovative companies out there, which is great. We'll check out some of those things. Black soldier fly larvae, data. I think we've covered most of the questions. Is there any other burning questions out there? We've got a few minutes left. If there's, or is anything anybody else wants to add or come in to say? It's a lot of chat coming in. Hang on a sec. Bear with me here. Sorry, technology. Oh, here we go. Chat. Okay, good question about taxes. Is this award taxable? To be honest, my understanding, well, we'd need to check that in each of the countries where it's going to be applicable. So I think we need to come back to you on that and find out and put it on the website. My assumption, actually, I'm not even going to say my assumption because I don't want to mislead you. I don't know. So we will check on that and come back to you whether it is taxable or not within the within each country. Behavior change, let's just see, I'm just scrolling through the chat function to see if there's any more. What's the definition of a smaller business? A very good question, and we did battle over this in terms of smaller. I suppose turnover is what we're thinking. So we would class, I mean, again, it's very different because each locality is very different, but small to medium-sized enterprises in each of the countries, you know, in terms of turnover, in the UK, I'll give a UK specific, would be around 50,000 turnover would be a small company, 50,000 sterling. So if I don't know what the equivalent would be in India, Vietnam, or South Africa, I don't know whether you guys can say. Dinesh, would you say small? What would class as a small enterprise in India?
Michelle, I'm not clear about the exact budget, but there is this department which actually puts it under micro, mini, and small scale industries. So I can find that out, Michelle.
We'll find that out. We'll put that onto the website as well. Tram, Angela, anything in terms of your definitions of small to medium in your countries?
I think in South Africa, there are so many excessive startups, and I think the capacity of development from a government and also the private sector in establishing young startups with enterprise development isn't monetary. Essentially, there isn't a known fact, but if you've got your business plan and you've done all the work and you're growing, even if you within the first year, I think there's definite application to you being considered. So enterprise development from a startup to a sector.
So I suppose, I think the concern maybe is my turnover too large to apply. So I think in that instance, we wanted to be open because we know this varies from country to country. And so, yeah, we didn't want to put a limit on it, but we can give a guideline as to what would constitute broadly a small to medium enterprise on the website over the next few days. And okay, let's just see if there's anything else. I think that's it. I think we've got all the questions, unless the hosts want to tell me any different. Great. Well, it just remains for me to say, okay, is this proposal to be sent through NGO Section 8 company or as a private company? So it could be either. It's either. It could be a private company. I think we would class it as a social enterprise, you know, in terms of the for-profit companies that we've been talking to have a social impact, social element. So that one is fine. Okay, thank you. So I've got some feedback on the limit. So in India, defined micro if less than 1 CR, if that makes sense for anybody in India. But we'll put some more guidelines onto the website on that. So yeah, NGOs, private sector, charity, either is eligible. If you're a private company, then really it's about bringing out that social impact aspect. So the competition really is geared towards entrepreneurs, innovators. You know, we see the private sector as very key in driving the circular economy in each country in which we're working. So I think I'm going to round things up there. Hopefully that has answered most of your questions, and do feel free to come back to us with any more questions over the next few weeks, and hopefully the deadlines, timelines are clear for you. And if you feel that another webinar like this will be of use, do let us know, just in case there are other questions that might come up when you get deeper into the proposal development. So do let us know if you'd find something like this again helpful. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you all again for joining us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are. I hope it's been of help. And yeah, just wanted to really thank you for your interest, and we really hope this competition and this challenge will be of benefit for many companies, and that will be a very positive experience. And don't forget, it's not just about the prize at the end. There's business development support as well, which we think is really valuable as well as part of this competition. So do have a go, throw your hat in the ring. So I'll just end there. Thank you very much to the panelists. I'll say quick goodbye. Dinesh, Tram, do you want to say cheerio?
Yeah, please do visit our website, circulareconomy.co.
Thank you. Tram?
Cảm ơn tất cả mọi người và hy vọng là sẽ nhận được nhiều hồ sơ từ Việt Nam cũng như là từ các nước còn lại ạ.
Thank you. Angela?
Right, in South Africa, if you want to know information, you want to get on board circulareconomynetwork.co, please register as a member. Go and do that now and be in contact, and we can make this work. Come innovators. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you.